When I was first diagnosed autistic, I read Tony Attwood's Complete Guide to Asperger Syndrome, which was the designation that I was given at the time of my diagnosis. And one of the traits that he mentions in there that is common with people who are autistic is social naivety. And I feel very socially naive, especially in my younger years where I didn't have that experience accumulated to be able to compensate for my lack of social cognition or intuition. And I would make a lot of, in hindsight, glaring mistakes that, I think a neurotypical might not. Not that they can't, we're all capable of making mistakes socially, but I feel like it seemed obvious to everybody else at the time that the thing I did wasn't appropriate or wasn't the right idea. And I look back on it and I cringe because I feel like I should have known better. One example, I was in grade 2. This was back when I lived in Australia. The grade system and the ages are a little bit different across country, but it was grade 2. And I don't know why I got it in my head, but I wanted to, for show and tell, because my turn came around for show and tell, bring one of my mother's rings to the classroom to show it off and talk about it. My mother said that I had to bring it back, and I agreed to. It's funny because people who are autistic usually, they're frustrated by people who there's a disparity between what they say they're going to do and what they end up doing. I like to believe I'm a man of my word or person of my word these days. And back then, though, I think I had it in the back of my head that I was going to do something else with it. And there was a girl that I wasn't really friends with who was leaving class. And she turned up. I was at school early in the morning. I arrived early, was dropped off early. And she showed up, and I knew this was her last day at school. And somehow it popped into my head that I should give this girl the ring as a going away gift. I barely knew the girl. I guess it seemed like the right thing to do, like a good thing a friend does. Not that she was my friend, not that I necessarily was going to make friends with her. She was leaving school. The idea popped in my head, and I perseverated and fixated on it, and that was what I was going to do. Her mother was with her, and I walked up to her and said, "Hey, can I give you this gift as a going away present?" And her mother looked, I can't forget to this day, the look in her mother. It was, I'm using a big word here, rapacious. It was kind of greedy. She was looking at that ring and like, oh, it's worth something. And any adult who has some kind of conscience would know that it's not acceptable to accept a gift that's a high value thing like a ring with, this had a gemstone on it, a sapphire, from a child. And the girl was kind of like bemused and didn't know what to say. And she said, "Say thank you, Jane." And Jane said thank you. And then they took the gift and walked away. I then realized in short order that was a mistake. I should never have given that gift away. And what was I going to say to my mother when I got home from school? And I came home and I told my mother, and she just kind of went silent and didn't say anything and like walked away. And I could feel the disappointment. And I was very conscious that I should never have done that because I promised that I would bring it back, the ring back. But this socially naive idea that I should gift somebody something because it was the right thing to do or the nice thing to do, I was possessed by this idea. And I had very little experience of friendship because I'd had very few friends, few of whom I'd actually held on to, many of whom had like drifted away for whatever reason. I had one friend in preschool. He had some kind of intellectual disability, and he was held back, and I wasn't friends with him. I had another friend who just drifted and stopped speaking to me. So I spent a lot of my time not getting experience socially to understand these social cues and what was appropriate and wasn't appropriate. So I would make more of these mistakes. And now with, the experience I have, I can look back and of course judge myself, which I don't now. I have a lot of compassion for that child self who wasn't given a lot of guidance socially, what was appropriate or what wasn't. But to this day, it is a moment that I still cringe over because I felt taken advantage of, I guess. Like, I did a nice gesture, and an adult who should have known better didn't and took advantage of it. And any attempt subsequently to actually recover that ring was pointless. I had another friend who knew this person and was still in contact with her and appealed to her to get it, but of course she didn't return it. There was no incentive to return it. And her mother had indicated clearly that her mother had no conscience. And it's those experiences when we're taken advantage of, when our social naivete is exploited by other people, that really sting. Because we know with, hindsight is 2020, and we know in hindsight that we should have done X, Y, Z, that we should have known better. And we rely upon the goodwill of other people to maybe help us and catch us when we make those mistakes. But unfortunately, there are people in this world who are willing to take advantage of, our ignorance or obliviousness. Have you had an experience like this where you did something that you still cringe about to this day, where you might have been taken advantage of by other people because you didn't have the social awareness to know that that wasn't an appropriate thing to do or that was a bad idea. I would love to hear about all of your experiences on this topic.